Ghired Conclave Exile versus Ghired Conclave Exile, Wort the Raidmother, and Animar the Fateshifter. We'll just get out our tap land on turn 1, followed by Animar going for a desert. An Orcish Lumberjack from Wort, that is tap, sack a forest to add 3 in any combination of Gruul. An Ancient Tomb is nice, that means we get into our commander sooner, but we're not going to do anything too flashy this turn, just going in for the 3 visits. And we'll get down a tapped Shockland and pass over to our opponent. That actually means that we can go in for our commander next turn if we want to. And if we can manage to keep our commander in play, then Ghired's Belligerence onto the Orcish Lumberjack will allow us to populate the Rhino token. And of all the players at the table, I think going after Wort is the best thing. I said in a previous video that Wort's a very underrated commander, and it's actually very powerful. Going in at Aminatou with the Lumberjack. Yeah, so I think going in at Wort for a short stint would be a good idea. Maybe we'll go a turn slower though, because if we get down the Idol of Oblivion first, then that means that we'll be able to get down our commander the turn after and draw a card with this. We can tap it to draw a card if we've created a token. Worldly Tutor during the main phase for Ghired. Yeah, I think it's a good excuse to lay down the tapped Shockland, so let's just do that and go for the Idol of Oblivion. Been looking forward to playing this card, and there's no better deck to play it in than a... Well, so much for that. That's ironic. If we'd gone for the untapped land, then could have actually paid for Spell Pierce. Oh well, it's like I always say with counter magic and removal, it gets it out of their hand at least. Was not expecting to see a Spell Pierce though. Then following things up with a Cloudkin Seer. When that enters, you draw a card, and they did get into another island. Then Wort gets down the Sol Ring. Never ever see Wort struggling on mana. It seems as though that's like 2/3 of the deck is mana. Okay, deciding to use the Orcish Lumberjack to sacrifice the Tiger. Yeah, and then comes Wort the Raidmother. Would be good to get rid of some stuff here with the Ghired's Belligerence. We'll have to get our commander down first though. I'd much rather Wort didn't get a single activation off with the Conspire. But I think they're going to get at least one because we need to set up first. Solemn Simulacrum for the Ghired. That might have been what they went for with the Worldly Tutor. Oh, and they do have a Sol Ring as well. I don't know. I think they played that this turn. Unless I missed it last turn. Okay, Heroic Intervention. Unfortunately, if we go Ancient Tomb... Yeah, we can't hold up Heroic Intervention after our commander. So let's just get down the Reliquary Tower. And we'll go in for Ghired here. And he enters with a 4/4 Rhino with Trample. And I'm hoping that we get to populate that a few times next turn. How much mana will we have? That'll be 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 if we go Ancient Tomb. Which means we can put 5 into X on Ghired's Belligerence. And that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll populate 4 times. A Frostlynx entering for the Aminatou opponent. When it enters, tap a creature an opponent controls. And it doesn't untap during the next untap step. Yeah, and I thought our opponent would be worried about Ghired. I'd be very intrigued as the game goes on to see if Aminatou starts to think a bit more about Wort. Yeah, they are swinging in at Wort, so it might just be that they don't want us populating with that, which is... Well, it makes perfect sense. But like I said in the last game, I've played a lot of games in which people underestimate Wort, so I'm just hoping that Wort doesn't get forgotten about this game. Ooh, Gaia's Cradle, yeah. That's a lot of mana for our opponent now. Going for Rishkar's Expertise, copied. Yeah, that's what happens when you give Wort a turn. The first free card from Rishkar's Expertise is a Sakura Tribalkai. At least they only draw 3 cards from the Rishkar's Expertise. I'm used to this drawing like 10 cards apiece. They are now up to 8 cards in hand, but they'll get to cast one for free, unless they don't have anything in hand. They get a Nature's Law, yep, so just a bunch more mana. Like I said before, the Wort deck is usually just a bunch of mana. Oh, and they get to copy that as well because it is a sorcery, so 2 Nature's Laws from our opponent. They grab a Dryad Arbor, which they may sacrifice with the Orcish Lumberjack, and then a basic Forest as well. 7 cards in hand, and now plenty of mana. But we've also got plenty of targets with Ghired's Belligerence as well. Sacrificing the Sakura Tribe Elder. An Anger from Ghired, so that will make a good chump blocker, because I'm sure our opponent wants that in the graveyard. Yep, just deciding to leave it back along with the Solemn. Now then, can we get out a Gruul's Signet first? Let's drop the Ancient Tomb. If we go Gruul's Signet, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 into X, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'd actually quite like to get rid of this thing so that it doesn't keep getting flickered. Although Aminatou hasn't really gotten a whole lot going very quickly. So if they flicker that, is it the worst thing? Let's progress the board as opposed to trying to put too much effort into getting rid of Cloudkin Seer. We're not holding up Heroic Intervention here, which we perhaps should. But we are going to get rid of a few of our opponent's things. See if our opponent drew into an Heroic Intervention. They did not, so we get 4 Populate triggers. All of which are going to be going on the Rhino. We don't have haste in play, unfortunately. Oh, they have a Chaos Warp though. Yeah, that feels bad. Perhaps should have left up mana for Heroic Intervention. We get into Mimic Vat, but that Ghired's Belligerence does nothing now. At least we've got a potential token creator with the Mimic Vat. Cloudkin Seer and the Frostlinks going in at the Wort player, which I think is the right call. I think Wort has shown herself to be the most powerful player at the table. Nostalgic Dreams for Wort. Going after the Chaos Warp, the Orcish Lumberjack, and the Rishkar's Expertise. And they had to discard 3 cards in order to cast that. They just got rid of some lands from hand. Excellent. So all our opponent did there was discard 3 cards and pay for the privilege. That is an excellent negate from Aminatou. Getting down a Kessig Wolfrun and pumping up the Wort. So let's see where that's going. It is going in at the Esper player. Going to punish them for that negate. Oh, a Combat Celebrant from the Ghired player. Luckily, the Anger is on the field currently. Might be time for a Blasphemous Act, actually, so that we can put some things under the Mimic Vat. Unfortunately, that will mean putting the Anger in Ghired's graveyard. Armada Worm is nice. That might change what we do this turn, actually. Let's go in for the Armada Worm, and we'll hold up the Heroic Intervention. Armada Worm is a 5/5 trample that comes down with a 5/5 trample token, and because it's a token it can be populated. Going to target Wort here, and because we're swinging in we get to populate, and we'll throw the 5/5 Worm token in at Wort as well. Now the good thing is, even if someone board wipes, we can put the Armada Worm under Mimic Vat and get consistent Worm tokens out of that. Aminatou has done a lot in this game, considering they haven't gotten into their white. Signing Blood should help them clear a couple of cards off the top. The artwork on this makes me cringe, just look at that fingernail. Well, they get into another land. It's not the white source they needed though. Aminatou deciding not to swing in. They obviously feel bad for the Wort player. Yeah, I don't know if Aminatou was just holding back blockers there because we do have Trample, or if they just felt bad for Wort. They've got 2 cards in hand and they're tapping down a lot of mana. It might just all be going into the Kessig Wolfrun. Yes, it is. That is +7 on Wort. Now, I imagine they're coming in at us. The question is, do we make our creatures indestructible or not? I don't think it's the end of the world if Ghired wipes the board because, like I said, we can put the Armada Worm under the Mimic Vat anyway. Oh, and it's not coming in at us, it is going in at Aminatou. So they're clearly trying to get them out with commander damage. Double blocking just to soak up some of the damage. So they'll only be dealt 7 points of commander damage there. Oh, and they're also trying to get rid of Wort. I imagine that's what Wort wants. They want to replay Wort to get the tokens back. So I'm not sure about that. But it does soak up some commander damage, so it's a tricky call to make, really. Mimic Vat will trigger here. And we are going to put the Cloudkin Seer underneath that. Frostlinks. I mean, Frostlinks actually could help us get our creatures past our opponent's stuff, couldn't they? But I think we just need the card draw at this point. So we'll say no to Frostlinks. And we'll say yes to the Cloudkin Seer. And then at the end of Ghired's turn, if they haven't forced us to use Heroic Intervention, then we can make a token copy of the Cloudkin Seer. And that will draw us a card. Ghired playing their commander, so they get their first token of the game into play. And then we'll see if they decide to exert the Combat Celebrant or not. I'd be intrigued to see where they swing in here. No, they decide not to swing in at all. So in that case, we will go for the Mimic Vat. That makes a token of the Cloudkin Seer, like we said. And that draws us a card. Or Parallel Lives. When we can make Cloudkin Seers. Yeah, that might actually be worth pouring some resources into. Get into a Tiger. And then tap down the Signet and a couple of lands for Parallel Lives. Oh, and the Cloudkin Seer stays in play. This exiles at the end of our turn, does it? Oh, it's at the beginning of the next end step, and the beginning of the end step had already been and gone on Ghired's turn. So we do keep that Cloudkin Seer. Alright, can we get rid of Wort here? We'll get double worm tokens, so that's 5, 10, 20, 22, and 27. Yes, we can. Yeah, we'll swing like that. Cloudkin Seer going in at the Ghired player. And then Ghired will populate. We'll make a copy of the worm, which makes 2 copies of the worm. Swing both of those in at Wort. Do feel bad targeting Wort so much, but if anyone can get back into the game, it's them. So they go down to -1. And now it is a case of holding up Heroic Intervention and that Mimic Vat. I very much like getting double tokens with Cloudkin Seer. So yeah, we'll just pass like that. Still no white for Aminatou, unfortunately. They've been very unlucky this game. A Necromaster Dragon. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can pay 2 and get a zombie token. And each opponent mills 2. Don't know if I've seen that before. I think the plan now is to go in hard at this Ghired player. They've got 3 cards in hand, so I don't know how difficult they're going to make that during our next turn. But the longer we leave them, the more difficult it's going to be in the long run. Because Combat Celebrant gets our opponent into multiple Rhino tokens. Alright, well before anything more happens here, let's get down some tokens. And we'll draw some cards off of each token. Alright, a Thragtusk is going to gain us some life. Then Ghired is going to populate on the only token in play. And that is no doubt going to come in at us. Combat Celebrant looks like it has been exerted, so everything gets untapped. And just making sure, yes, everything is coming in at us as you would expect. Our opponent and I are thinking in exactly the same way. We need to get rid of each other and then concentrate on Aminatou last, which hopefully doesn't bite us too hard. Now, we can double block a Rhino here. They get to populate again either way. So let's just double block on a Rhino. So that means we're taking 2, 4, 6, and 10. So that'll be 20 damage. I think in response to this, just so that we can get rid of a Rhino token, we'll go Heroic Intervention. Although we could Heroic Intervention and or Steer Command next turn, couldn't we? Yeah, let's just take the damage here. And Aminatou runs out of patience and decides to scoop it up. Yeah, I think I would rather risk a combat trick from our opponent. They might be able to knock us out here, but I don't think so. We can't block now either way. And I'm hoping our opponent's got another trick up their sleeve here. They seem to be very committed to dealing a lot of damage to us, because we can just swing back at them next turn. Okay, that's a martial coup. They get some soldier tokens, so we will respond with Heroic Intervention, so we do not lose our tokens here. Now, Mimic Vat doesn't have anything underneath it anymore because Aminatou has left. I think, yeah, we just put Combat Celebrant under that, and that should win us the game. In fact, we'll be able to get a couple of Combat Celebrant tokens, won't we? Noteworthy that we could exile the Anger and put that under the Mimic Vat. But yeah, our opponent sees what we were trying to do there. We put the Combat Celebrant under the Mimic Vat, and we would tap that down and create a couple of Combat Celebrant tokens. We would swing in with one and exert it, and that would give us another combat step, and then we would swing in with the second token and exert that one, and that would get us a total of 3 combat steps, if I'm understanding that correctly, which I'm pretty sure I am. So that turned out pretty well. We did a lot of work off the back of an Armada worm there. I think there's still some tweaking to be done with the deck. I think there's a lot of tweaking to be done actually. Didn't get into too much card draw, so yeah, might have to just do some tweaking, like I say. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this Ghired Conclave Exile game. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.